So there's a lot of concern, I think, questions related to introducing children to AI and different technologies. So what I'm going to do is go through just a quick example, uh, a little exercise that I've done actually with my son, who's now 5 years old. But we've done it, when he was four, creating stories, basically using AI, but from an interest-driven perspective. So the things that he's into, right? So we'll make a story. I'll use dinosaurs. That's one of his favorite things. And basically have ChatGPT go through step by step and create this story on the back end that we can actually take and then read together. I want to create a story for a 5-year-old child who has a very deep interest in dinosaurs. But I want you to walk me through step by step in creating this by asking single questions at a time. And at the end, I want this to be a comprehensive story that we can then take and read together.
Absolutely. Let's start with the main character. Would you like the story to feature a human child who loves dinosaurs, or would you prefer a young dinosaur as the protagonist?
I want the protagonist to be a 5-year-old African American boy.
Great choice. What's his name, and does he have any special interests or traits besides his love for dinosaurs?
Let's make his name Scott.
Awesome. So we have Scott, a 5-year-old African American boy who loves dinosaurs. Does Scott have a favorite dinosaur or maybe a special dinosaur toy that he carries with him?
T-Rex.
Perfect. Scott's favorite dinosaur is a T Rex, and he carries a special T Rex toy with him everywhere. Now, where would you like the story to take place? It could be in a museum, his backyard, or maybe even a magical land.
I actually wanted to have multiple locations and settings because I want it to be different climates and different areas. So I wanted to actually also teach geography as well as weather.
That's a fantastic idea. So we can have Scott and his T Rex toy travel through different climates and regions. Maybe he visits a tropical jungle, a snowy mountain, and a desert, learning about each place as he goes. Does that sound good to you?
Instead of doing like a T-Rex toy, can we make it like an actual T-Rex that's his friend on this adventure?
Absolutely. So Scott's friend is a real T Rex who joins him on these adventures. Now, do you want the T Rex to have a name or any special traits?
Yes. Make his name Rufus.
Great. Now we have Scott and his T Rex friend Rufus. Let's think about their first adventure. Which climate or region should they visit first? A tropical jungle, a snowy mountain, or a desert?
Let's start with the tropical jungle, then going to the snowy mountain, and then ending with the desert before returning home, which is a nice, cool, moderate climate in the United States.
Perfect. So Scott and Rufus will begin their journey in a lush tropical jungle. What kind of challenge or goal would you like them to have in the jungle? For example, they could be searching for a special type of plant, helping an animal friend, or discovering something new about the environment.
Let's have them helping other animal friends.
Great! In the tropical jungle, Scott and Rufus will help animal friends. Next, as they move to the snowy mountain, what kind of challenge or goal should they have there?
Let's just make a consistent theme of them helping other animal friends within each climate.
Got it. So in each climate, Scott and Rufus will help different animal friends. For their return home to the moderate climate, would you like them to learn or discover something that ties the whole adventure together?
Um, let's end it with the somehow we can tie it to the STEM career path of being a meteorologist or even a geologist.
Fantastic. So, at the end of their journey, Scott and Rufus will learn something that inspires a future career path in STEM, like meteorology or geology. This is shaping up to be a wonderful story. Would you like to add any other elements or details before we outline the full story?
No, let's create the full story.
All right, let's put it all together. Title: Scott and Rufus's Big Adventure. Once upon a time, there was a curious 5-year-old boy named Scott who loved dinosaurs. His best friend was a real T-Rex named Rufus. One day, they decided to go on a grand adventure to explore different places around the world and help animal friends along the way. Their journey began in a tropical jungle where the air was warm and humid and the trees were tall and green. They heard the cries of a monkey whose tail was stuck in some vines. Scott and Rufus worked together to free the monkey, who thanked them by showing them the most delicious fruit in the jungle. Next, they traveled to a snowy mountain where everything was covered in a blanket of white snow. They met a family of mountain goats struggling to find their way through a snowstorm. Using their teamwork, Scott and Rufus helped with the goats find shelter and warmth. The goats taught them about how animals survive in cold climates. Their final stop was a vast desert where the sun was hot and the sand stretched as far as they could see. They found a tortoise who was lost and needed water. Scott and Rufus guided the tortoise to an oasis, learning how different animals adapt to the harsh desert environment. When they finally returned home to their cool, moderate climate, Scott realized how amazing the Earth's different regions are and how important it is to understand the weather and the land. This adventure sparked his interest in becoming a geologist or a meteorologist one day, exploring the wonders of the natural world. And so, Scott and Rufus's big adventure became a story of friendship, discovery, and a love for the earth. The end. I hope this is exactly what you envisioned.
Yes, and can you also create a cover image for the story showing both Scott and Rufus with the title, and make sure that um, Rufus is colorful T-Rex, and Scott is wearing a T-shirt that also has a dinosaur on it, and again, making sure that he is an African American boy.
I can definitely help you design a concept for the cover image. Picture Scott as a joyful African American boy wearing a t shirt with a dinosaur on it, standing next to his colorful T Rex friend Rufus. The title, Scott and Rufus's Big Adventure, will be displayed at the top. They'll both be in a vibrant outdoor setting, hinting at their exciting journey. Once you have a visual reference or more specific details, you can create the final cover using a graphic design tool or an illustrator. Let me know if you need help with anything else.
Create the image.
I can't create images directly, but I can guide you on how to bring the cover image to life.
All right, so I don't, for some reason with the voice, it wouldn't allow me to create the cover image. So I just went into ChatGPT and I just typed create the image. Sorry, you probably can't see it. So from here, I'm just gonna have it create the image, and then once it generates, I will show you what we got. And the cool thing with this is that you can tailor it. Even thinking about like Lexile level, one thing I thought about was including sight words, right, for really early readers. Um, as they're beginning to read, identifying certain words, those kind of common ones that we see, and from there, building and expanding. And I mean, you could have these stories, they could be, you know, bedtime stories or whatever it is. But again, it's also making sure that children actually have a voice in this. So whenever I do this process and have done it before, it's typically a joint creation or creative venture where my son is actually engaging and saying, I want it to be in this type of setting. I want this to happen. These characters, I want them to come across, a lizard or whatever it is. But again, just the inclusive aspect of it is amazing. And here is the cover. So hope that helps. Peace.